There's a moment when you realize you can see further than most people. Not with your eyes, but with something sharper. You notice the tone behind their words. You read the hesitation in their voice, the way their hands betray them before their mouth does. You catch the shift in someone's breathing when they are about to lie, the way their eyes flicker toward the truth they're trying to hide. At first, it feels like a gift, like you've unlocked a secret code to human nature. You think you've been given something rare, the ability to understand the world for what it truly is. But the longer you carry it, the more it begins to feel like a weight pressing against your chest. You stop laughing at the same jokes everyone else finds hilarious, because you can see the insecurity behind the punchline. You stop believing in the same fairy tales that keep people moving, because you can see the cracks in the story. And suddenly the room feels quieter. The conversations feel scripted. The people around you become actors, repeating lines they've said 100 times before, hoping no one notices how hollow they sound. It's not just strangers. It's the people you love. You start seeing the way they avoid certain truths, the way they construct little illusions just to make life feel less threatening. You catch them pretending to be stronger than they are, pretending to be happier than they feel. And you realize these illusions are not lies meant to hurt you. They're shields meant to protect themselves. But once you've seen the truth behind them, you can't put the mask back on. You can't unknow what you know. At first, you try to use your vision to help. You think if you can just explain what's really happening, they'll thank you for opening their eyes. But the opposite happens. They push you away. They call you paranoid, cold, or overly analytical. Because for them, the lie is safer than the truth. The truth forces change, and change is terrifying. So you learn to keep what you see to yourself. But even in silence, the knowledge sits inside you like a stone. You begin to envy the ones who can't see like you do. The ones who can laugh without wondering why the joke was told. The ones who can trust without dissecting every word. The ones who can fall in love without scanning for the exit. You watch them live in that soft, warm blur, while you stand outside it, staring in like an exile. You want to step back into their world, to believe in it again, but you can't, because once you've seen the threads holding the curtain together, you can never believe the play is real. The gift becomes a prison not because it traps you physically, but because it locks you into a kind of knowing you can't turn off. It's there when you're alone. It's there when you're with people. It's there when you're staring at someone and realizing they don't even understand themselves, but you do. It's there when you see betrayal coming before it happens, when you spot the manipulation in the smile, when you feel the distance in a hug that's meant to feel close. And no matter how much you wish you could just close your eyes and walk blind like everyone else, you can't. The vision doesn't dim. It doesn't rest. It doesn't ask permission. It just keeps showing you everything the more you begin to understand, the more you start noticing how alone that understanding makes you. Awareness has a strange way of building invisible walls between you and the rest of the world. You can sit in a crowded room, surrounded by laughter and noise, yet feel like you're standing on the other side of a glass wall, watching it all unfold from a distance. Everyone else seems to be living in a shared dream, a dream where they agree on what's real, what's worth chasing, and what's worth believing in. But when you see through the dream, you no longer fit inside it. Most people don't want clarity. They want comfort. They don't want to know that their friend is secretly envious of them, that their partner is quietly growing distant, or that the system they trust is designed to keep them compliant. They don't want to see the cracks because the cracks threaten the whole structure. You, however, can't help but notice them. And when you speak about what you see, you disturb the fragile peace they've built for themselves. They might smile and nod while you talk, but deep down, they're making a decision to keep you at arm's length. It's not always hostility. Sometimes it's subtle. A friend stops sharing certain details with you because they know you'll read between the lines. A family member changes the subject when a conversation drifts too close to something they're avoiding. People start to prefer lighter company, those who can listen without questioning, laugh without analyzing, and agree without challenging. You, on the other hand, carry a presence that feels heavy to them, not because you mean harm, but because you remind them of truths they're trying to forget. This kind of isolation is not like being ignored or abandoned. It's quieter, more insidious. You still get invited, still get included, but the connection feels thinner. There's a distance even in closeness, a sense that you're an observer in every interaction, never fully a participant. You can talk, you can engage, you can play along, but a part of you always remains detached because you see the undercurrents beneath every exchange. Eventually, you start self-editing. You hold back what you notice. You stop pointing out the things that no one else wants to confront. You learn the art of silence, not because you've lost your voice, but because you've learned that truth has a price, and that price is often connection. You can either speak freely and watch people drift away, or you can filter your words and keep a fragile closeness alive. But the trade-off is that the relationships you keep rarely feel complete. You can't unknow what you know. You can't stop sensing the hidden motives, the suppressed feelings, the quiet manipulations that most pretend aren't there. And so, you exist in a limbo, close enough to people to touch them, but never close enough to truly feel at home among them. Over time, the awareness that once made you feel powerful begins to feel like a barrier you didn't choose to build. You can see paths others are blind to, yet no one is willing to walk them with you. You can sense storms before they form, yet people prefer the sunshine they've convinced themselves will last forever. And so, you keep your vision to yourself, walking through life surrounded by others, but living in a reality only you can see. People often repeat the phrase knowledge is power, as if it's an unshakable truth, as if knowing more will always make life easier, better, safer. But they never talk about the heaviness that comes with it. Because knowledge isn't just power, it's a burden that sits on your shoulders from the moment you gain it. A burden that grows heavier the more you understand. When you begin to see how people really think, how they maneuver, how they bend the truth for their own advantage, you stop moving through life with the same lightness you once had. The world no longer feels like an open field you can run through. It feels like a chessboard, and every person you meet is a piece already in motion. This weight shows up in the smallest interactions. Someone gives you a compliment, and you feel the intention behind it. Maybe it's genuine, but maybe it's a setup for a request they haven't made yet. Someone tells you they're happy for your success, but their tone carries that slight, almost imperceptible tension that tells you they wish it were theirs. Once you would have taken their words at face value. Now you hear the layers beneath them, and those layers are not always pretty. It's not only about individuals. When you understand how systems work, how they're designed to control, distract, and pacify, you stop feeling comforted by the rules. You stop thinking authority always acts in your interest. You stop believing that the majority's voice is always right. And once you've peeled back that layer of trust, you can't stick it back on. You walk through life knowing that most people are playing a game they don't even realize they're in. And you can't explain the game without them thinking you've lost your mind. The weight of knowing changes how you prepare for life. You can't just relax into situations anymore. You scan for the unseen angles, the subtle manipulations, the possible betrayals that might come. You notice when someone is positioning themselves to take credit for your work before you've even finished it. You feel when a friend is quietly gathering information that might one day be used against you. You're never fully at ease, because you're aware of what most people either can't see or refuse to see. And yet, you can't put the knowledge down. There's no switch to turn it off, no door to close behind you. It becomes a part of you, stitched into the way you move, the way you think, the way you interpret every word and every action around you. And it isn't always paranoia. Often you're right. That's the curse. The weight isn't just heavy because it exists. It's heavy because it proves itself again and again. Every time you sense a hidden motive and it turns out to be real, the burden grows. Every time you predict the way a situation will unravel and watch it happen exactly as you thought, the weight digs in deeper. It makes trust rare. It makes peace rare. It makes innocence impossible. Because to know too much is to carry the constant awareness that the world is far less pure than it appears, and that people, even the ones closest to you, can hold truths they will never let you see until it serves them to show you. There comes a point when you realize that seeing too much isn't the real skill. It's knowing what to do with what you see. You can read faces like open books, catch the tremor in someone's voice when they're bluffing, feel the shift in energy when a room turns against you. But raw perception isn't always a weapon. Sometimes it's a liability. And the people who survive the longest, the ones who hold real influence, are not those who speak every truth they notice, but those who know exactly when to keep their mouth shut. Silence becomes your strategy, not the silence of weakness, but the silence of patience. You let people think you're fooled because being underestimated is often safer than being feared. You nod when someone lies to you, not because you believe them, but because calling them out would make the game too obvious. You pretend to agree even when you know their plan will fail, because watching it collapse without your interference often teaches them more than your words ever could. The silent game is not about passivity, it's about control. The less you reveal, the more others reveal themselves. People have a strange habit of talking too much in the presence of someone who doesn't talk enough. They fill the space with their insecurities, their ambitions, their half-truths, and you collect it all without giving anything back. Every word you withhold is a mirror, and sooner or later, they expose what they never intended to share. But playing this game comes at a cost. There's a certain loneliness in knowing you can't say everything you think. You might want to warn someone about the betrayal you see coming for them, but you know they won't believe you until it happens. You might want to tell someone you've spotted the trap they're walking into, but you've learned that saving people from their own illusions rarely earns you gratitude. It earns you suspicion. So you stay quiet, watching events unfold like a script you've already read. Your silence can make others uneasy. They start to wonder what you're thinking, what you've noticed, what you might say one day when it benefits you. Some will try to provoke you into speaking, just to measure how much you actually know. Others will avoid you altogether, fearing that your quiet is not emptiness, but observation. And they're right, because while they're acting, you're watching. While they're revealing, you're remembering. Over time, you find a strange kind of strength in restraint. You learn that the loudest person in the room rarely has the most control. That the one who corrects every lie burns bridges faster than the liar. That revealing what you know too soon is like showing your cards before the game is over. So you keep your truths hidden, waiting for the exact moment when they will have the most impact, or choosing never to reveal them at all. The silent game teaches you patience, but more than that, it teaches you that words are not the only way to win. Sometimes the most powerful move is not to speak, but to let the other side believe they're playing in the dark, unaware that you've been watching the whole time. The moment you begin to see the world without its filters, you are faced with a decision you didn't ask to make. Do you keep your eyes open and carry the weight of what you see, or do you close them just enough to feel the warmth of illusions again? Clarity is intoxicating. It gives you precision, foresight, and an understanding of how people and systems truly operate. But it comes with a cost that is rarely discussed: the erosion of peace. Because peace for most is not built on truth, but on selective blindness. When you live in clarity, you notice everything that doesn't fit the story people tell themselves. You see the manipulation behind the kindness, the insecurity behind the arrogance, the selfishness beneath the mask of generosity. You catch the small details that others miss: the way someone's voice changes when they talk to different people, the subtle shifts in their loyalty when opportunities arise, the tiny fractures in relationships that will eventually split wide open. This awareness keeps you prepared, but it also keeps you restless. You can't look at people the same way once you've seen the blueprint of their behavior. Peace, on the other hand, demands that you look away, that you stop analyzing and let people's words mean exactly what they say, that you let yourself believe in their sincerity without searching for the cracks. It asks you to surrender the sharpness of your perception in exchange for the comfort of not knowing too much. It sounds tempting to feel safe in the warmth of a story you can believe in, but you know it would mean living with your guard down, and you've learned enough to know how dangerous that can be. This is the curse. Both paths carry a price. If you choose clarity, you carry the loneliness of knowing too much. You'll see the betrayals before they happen and bear the frustration of watching others walk blindly into traps you can't warn them about. You'll feel the distance between you and those who are content in their illusions, because you can't join them without betraying what you know. The truth will keep you awake at night, replaying conversations, dissecting patterns, seeing the next moves before anyone else. If you choose peace, you buy yourself relief, but at the expense of foresight. You'll enjoy lighter conversations, deeper connections, and moments of unguarded trust. But you'll also miss the signs until it's too late. You'll be blindsided by betrayals you could have seen coming. You'll believe in promises that were never meant to be kept. You'll step into traps with a smile because you chose not to look for the strings being pulled. And so, you walk a thin line, trying to balance the two, keeping your eyes sharp enough to protect yourself, but soft enough to keep from drowning in what you see. Some days you lean toward clarity, some days toward peace, but deep down you know that the choice is never truly settled. The mind craves truth, but the heart craves comfort, and you are caught between the two, knowing that whichever you choose, something inside you will always be left unsatisfied to see too much is to live in a world that no longer feels innocent. It's a gift sharpened into a blade, cutting away the illusions that keep most people warm. You carry the knowledge that every smile has a shadow, that every promise has conditions, that every bond is more fragile than it appears. It gives you foresight, but it also gives you solitude. You learn to play the silent game, to watch instead of speak, to carry truths no one is ready to hear. And in the end, you stand between two worlds, one of clarity that strips away comfort, and one of peace that demands blindness. The curse isn't that you see too much. The curse is knowing you can never unsee it, and living with the weight of what others will never understand.